Have you ever noticed that most people think drawing a cloud is easy? After all, it doesn't have eyes, a nose, a mouth, or any complicated details. It's just a cloud, right? But what if I told you that drawing a realistic cloud can teach you some of the most important lessons in art? In this drawing, I'm using a simple cloud reference, but the principles I'm practicing here are the same principles used in realistic portraits, landscapes, and many other subjects. I begin with a very light sketch. At this stage, I'm not worried about details. I'm simply trying to understand the overall shape. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is trying to draw details too early. Before details comes structures. Before texture comes form. And before realism comes observation. If you look closely, this cloud actually has a shape that is surprisingly close to a triangle. Breaking complex subjects into simple shapes makes drawing much easier and much more accurate. Now I'm trying to establish the darker values underneath the cloud. This is where the drawing begins to gain depth. A lot of people think realism comes from drawing every tiny detail. In reality, realism comes from understanding light and the shadow. Without the light values, even the most detailed drawing can look flat. As I continue building the shadows, I'm constantly comparing one area to another. Is this section darker? Should this edge be softer? Is this transition smooth enough? Drawing is really a process of asking questions and making small adjustments. Now I am applying graphite to the sky around the cloud. This might seem like a small step, but it makes a huge difference. Notice how the cloud immediately starts standing out from the background. Sometimes creating contrast around an object is more effective than adding more detail to the object itself. This is a technique that works not only for clouds, but also for portraits and still life drawings. The background helps define the subject. Now I'm blending the graphite and refining the forms. If the transitions are too sharp, the cloud loses its softness. If everything is blended too much, the cloud loses its structure. Finding that balance is one of the keys to realism. As I continue working, I'm creating small rounded forms throughout the cloud. Many people think clouds are random, but if you study them carefully, you'll notice that every form reacts to the direction of the light. Some areas catch more light, others remain in shadow. Each small shape contributes to the overall volume of the cloud. This is exactly the same way we approach drawing faces. A face is not just eyes, a nose, and a mouth. It's a collection of forms affected by light. That's one reason why practicing clouds can actually help you improve your portrait drawing. Both require observation, both require patience, and both require an understanding of values. As the drawing develops, I'm constantly checking the relationship between the highlights and the shadows. The light areas become more believable and the dark areas are strong enough. And then shadows become more convincing when the highlights are preserved. Art is often less about what you add and more about what you choose to leave alone. If you enjoyed this drawing process, let me know in the comments what you would like to see me draw next.